Well, good morning. Not ready? Okay. We'll wait a sec. Wait one moment. Everyone good? Okay, perfect. Well, good morning. I want to say thank you to everyone who took time to be here with us this morning for this news conference where we want to share a statement and answer a few questions. I also want to say thank you to our pastor, Dr. Harvey Rice, for allowing us to host the event here today. And also thank you to my wife, obviously. This has been incredibly tough for her with the loss of family. On, I believe it was Saturday, October 19th, the incident that many of you all have reported on where Hassan Williams lost his life was a night that we remember vividly. I was in the living room with my mother, and we were having a conversation about her birthday coming up, actually, and I heard my wife shout out basically a statement of disbelief. And I ran in our room to hear what it was about. And she told me that she had just gotten a phone call regarding a tragic accident in which her cousin had suffered a gunshot wound to the head, that he was being rushed to Wake Forest Baptist Hospital, and that he had been in the company of other family members, one being my wife's brother and another cousin of theirs, that they had all been at the house, as well as Hassan's fiance and child were at the house too. And she had gotten a story about this, and she was incredibly shaken up, as you can imagine. And I asked her, "What do you need me to do?" And she said, the police are going to give the brother, the cousin, and fiance a ride down to the station. They're not under arrest. They're going to give them a ride to the station to ask some questions. Will you come with me to the station? And I can recall getting the question from her, and she'll recall my first thing to her was, "You want me to come with you to the station?" Because my first thought is, in moments like this, do you, in what capacity do you show up? But looking at her eyes, tearing up, voice shaking, I knew exactly what was most important at that time, and that was that I need to be a supportive husband. She was in no condition to drive, and I need to be with her. And so we all rode down to the station, she and I. Thankfully, my mom, who was already there with us, was able to keep watch of the boys while we were away. Upon arriving to the station, we were in the lobby. We saw the chaplain who was consoling the fiance. And we mentioned to the folks who were there who we were. Upon shaking hands, stated my name. One of them immediately said, "I know you, you're the mayor." And I made it clear I'm not here in the capacity of mayor whatsoever. I'm here purely as a supportive husband. The gentlemen who are here with you all, who were at the house with Hassan, are my wife's brother and cousin. And this tragic accident that we've heard about, we're here to ensure that the young men have support they need, especially because we want to ensure that they had some form of legal counsel. And so we made several phone calls that night trying to get a hold of lawyers. You'll recall October 19th was the night of A&T's homecoming, which is a universally big event. So it was really tough trying to get in touch with lawyers. And I could recall probably for an hour and a half, we called and kept calling. And finally got a hold of a lawyer, and I believe my wife had the lawyer on the line talking to the officers. At that moment, we followed every single rule that was asked of us, just like any regular citizen would do in that situation. We remained quiet, we sat down. When we were asked to exit the lobby so that way they could have the space they needed, we exited the lobby, waited out in the car for hours. Eventually, they opened the door, and Justice and Brandon were walking out. And we walked to go meet them, and the officer said they're free to go home. And we asked, well, what's next? And they said they just need to come back with their lawyer. They can call us and book an interview, and Those fellas did that over the next couple of days. We took them to the residence on Ridgebrook Drive because their ID and license, cell phone, clothes, everything were there. In fact, one of the cousins was living there with Hassan, and so all of his belongings were at that home. And so we went there. Many of you all reported my statement about us arriving that night with other family members who were also there. And my wife's aunt, she greeted her and hugged her and embraced her, and we expressed condolences because by that time we had gotten the news about Hassan's passing. And we ended up leaving after that, after acquiring the things, saying bye to family. We went home, got up, went to church the next day, and that's really it. In terms of the incident and the investigation, we've got no involvement in that whatsoever, obviously. The city manager and police chief, it was all up to them. I had no communication with them whatsoever, and their determination after all the consultation the chief had with his team was that it was better to pass it over to the State Bureau of Investigation just to avoid any appearance, perception, any potential impropriety or conflict of interest. And I stayed entirely out of that decision, and the SBI, as far as I know, is still having an open investigation. So we appreciate y'all being here for this. At this time, I'll invite my wife up to have some words.
Good morning. Like my husband said, thank you all for being here. I want to start off by expressing that I love my cousin and that my heart is broken for his loss. My heart especially cries out for my aunt, who is his mother, his extended family, as well as, most importantly, his children, who he loved tremendously. Family meant the world to my cousin, and I wanted to start off by honoring his memory in that way. I also want to say that I love my brother. We're a small family, and we're all each other has. And this unfortunate tragedy has shaken all of our worlds. And so I want to thank you all for your understanding and your patience and giving us the room and space we need to grieve throughout this tragedy. So thank you.
Thank you. At this time, we'll take a few questions in case you all have any.
Mayor, is it the case that your wife's brother spent the evening with you after the incident? Is that correct?
No, that's correct. In fact, he lives with us now.
Yeah.
Justice graduated high school several months ago, Andrews High School, and is preparing to go to college in January. And so we've been supportive of that. My wife is, as she mentioned, she loves her little brother, and she's been incredibly supportive in helping him with getting into school. And every opportunity that she can, she does her best to be supportive of him.
I did notice that on the incident report, I did not see the name of your wife's brother, Justice, and I don't understand whether it was indeed at the house or not when the shooting took place. Do you happen, could you comment?
I can't comment about the report. I didn't do the report. We weren't involved in that in any way. But to our understanding, yes, he was there at the house that evening. Paul?
Cyril, looking back, I know you said this was turned over to the police, but looking back, do you wish that your name had been released earlier at the time of the shooting, and that it had been made clear that you were the relative and that would have stemmed some of the rumors online?
You know, Paul, that's a great question. I'll be honest, in the days and weeks following the event, all we were doing as a family was mourning and thinking about that. Anyone who has followed me and the things I've said will know that family is a value to us, and that was the priority. So, yeah. Yes, ma'am.
You mentioned in your statement that you are an advocate for gun safety. I can imagine you have more that you would like to say when it comes to gun safety, but were you aware that family members obtained firearms or had firearms in their possession?
No, had no idea about that, honestly. Yes, ma'am.
Why was no one arrested in this case, and do you feel that maybe there should be some form of justice for what happened?
I can't speak to why an arrest wasn't made. We weren't there. I think from what is being reported and coming out and some of the records of that evening and the communications, I think it was pretty clearly understood that it was an accident. And so whatever the protocol is for that, I think you'd have to speak with law enforcement to figure that out. But I can't speak to why he wasn't arrested or why no one was arrested on that night. What I can say is whenever someone loses their first cousin to a tragic accident in that way and you're involved, the incredible amount of remorse and probably regret that he's feeling is deep. And so I can't speak to how justice should be handed down, justice that is. Again, we've got no involvement in that. Yes, ma'am.
What is making you speak now?
I think it's always been important to us that people can have confidence in who their elected leaders are. And to be clear, whenever people reach out in a one-to-one conversation, I'm pretty clear in terms of answering questions. This sort of spectacle that has become, I mean, it's clear that obviously the family's connected to an elected official, and that's why it's, I mean, just to be honest, that's why it's a headline. And it's my job, number one, to be the family man that I am, and number two, to serve in the capacity and to the best ability in terms of the city's interests. And that's always what we've been focused on. As we've begun to see that this story has become and picked up, that's when it became a little more clear that, okay, it's probably best to clarify some things. And we're an open book. In fact, I think many of you all got the emails that came out about this, that we sit and set up this news conference so we could answer those questions. We also made sure you all know how to access the public records that are going to detail the events of that evening. We think the public records, when you read it, will absolutely make it clear what our involvement was. And we want to make sure that we can address all those questions.
I have another question. Obviously, we're here today because you are an elected official, but if you were not involved, an elected official was not involved, we would probably still reach out to family and try to learn more about Hassan. So I would love to ask you, with him, with your husband aside, what kind of person was Hassan to you? What kind of relationship did you have, and what will you remember him most for? I know it's tough. I'm sorry.
I'm sorry. Thank you for that question, because I wish this time was more focused on honoring his memory. And so he was my first cousin. We grew up together during his childhood when he lived here in High Point. We were the same age, even though he joked and said he was older than me only by a few months. My cousin was always about family. It was very funny. We knew him as Red. Very, very protective of his family. Loved his family, would do any and everything, especially for the women in his family. And his children, he loved them so much. So when I say I love my cousin, I really do. And I'm sorry for his loss, and we will miss him.
Yes, ma'am.
What would you say to anyone who, has gone on social media and maybe said things that weren't true or took the situation out of proportion?
I can't speak to those actions. All of us who sign up to run for office and get elected know that there's a certain part of this job of being a public figure where you can't be a part of every conversation that's ever had. The very best thing we can ever do is be that example, be true, be honest, serve with integrity, represent the very best in terms of interest. As a man of faith, our pastor preaches that your fruit should speak for you. And so it's always been important to us to live out those values, live out that faith. And that ultimately, when people see that, that'll be the conversation that resonates the most. Yes, ma'am.
Have you had any conversations with Justice detailing what kind of conversations he might have had with your cousin leading up to whatever might have happened? Because there are family members alleging that some conversation may have occurred within the home prior to the incident.
No, I've not been involved in any conversations with Justice about the event. I think the best I've tried to do is be supportive of how he's a young man trying to go to college, and as someone who's a former educator, that's the part that appeals most to me. And so I'll focus on that. And we got up and went to church that next day. I made sure he came with me to church. And asked Pastor Mason at that time, I had to read a proclamation for John Mason Day and asked Pastor Mason to say a prayer for us. And that's been my involvement in terms of supporting justice. Any other questions?
What has the relationship been like between y'all and your family that's really, dealing with this pretty tough?
Can I speak to that?
We haven't had any or much communication with his extended family. My aunt's birthday came soon after. We reached out and told her happy birthday, but other than that, we haven't had much communication.
Any other questions? Yes, ma'am.
Do you believe that this could have been prevented?
Any tragic accident, I think all of us hope and think back and think about how it could have gone differently. I have to believe there's probably some steps that could have been taken to prevent that. Having not been there, not being close to the situation, there's no way for me to know. But led up to it and what could have been done. So that's the best answer I can give you on that one. Any other questions? Yes, ma'am.
Last question for me. The owner of the gun, was it your cousin or I'm assuming it wasn't your brother since he had just turned 18, or do you know any of that?
No, we've stayed out of it. And to be honest, today's news conference is really to clarify what my role, my wife's role has been on that night and since that night. So again, democracy works because people believe in the institutions of this country. And as representatives, it is important that we're there to answer those questions and to talk about it. And so we want to ensure that to the public and to the media that you all are able to get the information you need to understand what our role has been. Anything beyond what my capacity is as an elected official, there's so many parts of this we can't speak to. The State Bureau of Investigation will do their investigation. I imagine when those details come out, more of those questions can probably be answered then.
So for reporting purposes, you did not show up to the house until hours after the incident?
Hours,
happened?
that's correct.
Correct.
That's correct. And any other questions? Okay. With that, I'll say thank you all again. We appreciate you making time for this press conference. Appreciate everyone who's involved in helping us with setting this up. And feel free to reach out if you've got any further questions. Thank you.